set in Northamptonshire, England. Silverstone is one of the 4 crown jewels of the Formula 1 racing scene, alongside, of course, Monte Carlo, Monza, and Spa-Francorchamps. Back in 1950, on May 13th, it hosted the first ever FIA Formula 1 World Championship event, and today it plays host to the second half of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. The last time we were out, Gregor Houtu finally had his string of races ended as Commander Simsport moved themselves back to the top step of the rostrum. But what will happen as we get closer to that summer break? Will it be Commander? Will it be Fanatic Team Redline? Or will we see another team claiming victory in the world's most realistic, the world's greatest online racing simulation, and the world's toughest road racing championship? We start after these messages. You're watching RaceSpotTV. Cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn 1 for the first time. The second half of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series sees drivers head themselves to the heartland of England. It's Northamptonshire, it's Silverstone, as we go to the track that began it all as far as Formula 1 racing in a World Championship sense was formed. Gregor Hutu leads the championship with 339 points. 39 ahead of Martin Kroenke, but last time out it was Commander Simsport who took one and then took two drivers ahead of the four-time world champion. Drivers have just started qualifying. They've got themselves, as always, 3 laps to go as fast as they absolutely possibly can in that pursuit for pole position and the front row of the grid, heading themselves down in towards Copse Corner. Our aerial coverage today is brought to you by And1 Design as we take a look here up above this flat but difficult racetrack. As you see, Tommaso Carla working himself through one of the most famous complex of corners in all of motorsports. It's the Maggots-Beckett complex that of course leads itself down on towards the Hangar Straight, the site of one of the most famous passes in all of Grand Prix racing, the one between Nigel Mansell, Riccardo Patrese, that saw the dummy to end all dummies. As we welcome you here live on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live, Will Vincent, Rachel Whiteford, Johnny Simon, qualifying underway as well. We say 9 minutes are on the play clock. There you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, they are the qualifying times. Lap 1 was Picard from Kroenke from Carla. Then Borgia, Holtzman, Louise, Boost Loop, De Jong, Jobs and Friscop trying out your top 10. We can see Picard is on an outlap as we speak. We, of course, need to pay attention to the 4-time world champion that is Gregor Hutu. He is not yet on the racetrack. We'll bear that one in mind. There you can see Carter, and there you can see Martin Kroenke as well in second place. And Ollie Picard is sat on pit road right now, so it means for the second run, we start by looking at Tommaso Carla. Rachel, second half of the championship starts here today. Picard is looking strong once again, but Kroenke has momentum on his side.
Yes, indeed. Well, of course, good start right now for Ollie Picard. He's got a good run at the moment, of course. Provisional pole 118.322. Yeah, the second half of the championship's really where it matters, of course. Martin Kroenke winning last time out, and of course, Hutu's stream of wins coming to an end. But more importantly, this is where the points matter. You have to finish races to get points. I'm going to see drivers taking a little different approach, I think, in the second half of the season. Now it matters. Now they have to keep it clean. Now they have to get as far up the grid as they can, get that track position and use it.
Well, there you can see Tommaso Carter, as it's currently Job just moved himself up into P number 2 now. Of course, Job had himself a great run in qualifying over at Montreal. Of course, binned it into the World of Champions at the conclusion of lap number 1. There you can see Kroenke. You can see Carter just ahead of him there on the racetrack. Carter now heading himself down into Luffield 1. We ride along board of him. Sector 1, 27.565. Sector 2, 20.983. Dashing it towards the line. 118.3 the time to beat. He won't do it. Can Kroenke do it as he works himself past the stripe? The answer to that question is going to be no, because Kroenke now works himself onto... No, Kroenke actually not going to get that time complete. Kroenke down the field. We can see Borgia working himself down in towards turn number 1. We need to pay attention to 2 drivers. There you can see Hugo Louise. All forms are ragged there as he heads himself into Vale, into Brooklands. Just a couple of corners left for him to go. That number 6 for Asakana Simsport cars. So it's Picard from Job, from Carla, from Boostloop, Kroenke, De Jong up into 6. Hugo Louise, snap oversteer on the exit of Luffield number 2, dashing himself towards the line, and Hugo Louise will move himself only into a position of 9th, I believe. That is a miserable qualifying there for the driver of Hugo Louise. And finally, I think we're going to see Gregor Hutu onto the racetrack. But Johnny, Kawanda are struggling here today.
No, it certainly are, and you can see Hutu struggling to get on the power outside of the final corner. Had a bit of a crossed up moment as well. Can they get the momentum together? Maybe that car's set up to balance itself well with high fuel. Maybe in the low fuel at the moment it might be a little bit ragged, not easy to control, as Hutu will begin his first lap of qualifying very late for him, and he's sat in the pits for an early part of this session. He crosses the line.
He goes late. He goes pole. He goes to pole by the looks of it. Gregor Hutu to pole position. So just one and done then for the 4-time world champion. It looks as though Team Redline has himself the advantage for the time being. We can see Yao Vaz in the Orion Race Team car, P number 21 for the time being, working himself onto another lap here. As no, it's all over there. Yao Vaz just losing it there down in Copse Corner. Isaac Price on the racetrack. Well, it looks though for the time being, we've got ourselves an all red line front row of the grid, but then we've got ourselves 4 different teams represented on the 4 places on the grid behind them. You got yourself Sebastian Job for, of course, the one and only Apex Racing Team in 3rd, Andre Borja for Asquad Sports in 4th, Tommaso Carla from Ivano Racing in 5th, then Jeremy Bootaloo for the Radicals Online organisation in the 6th position. Cronke down in P7, Louise down in P number 10. We look ourselves, Johnny, along now with Isaac Price down in P number 16. What an upside down qualifying it's been here today.
And Price loses it on the exit of the final corner, and his lap is done and dusted, so he's still in 16th position. Hopefully he goes out again. He's got time, 4.5 minutes remaining. He does go out again for Isaac Price. Really has to nail it. You talked about Coanda. Well, I don't know what's going on. It'd be interesting to find out from one of the drivers, maybe post-race, if this bad pace goes on towards the race as well. So 5 thousandths of a second between the top 2 red line drivers. Still very close between those 2. They're both out on track.
Yeah, there you can see Paolo Moglia, P number 16, and they're on a free racing car. A couple of other people on the racetrack. You can see there Miguel Martin in the Radicals Online, number 42 car, heading himself down into this maggot Beckett sweep. You can see our camera there just working himself now down towards Chapel Corner, that final left-hander. We'd like to say a very warm welcome as well to Danny Garcia Fuller there in the number 52 car, running in the Pro Series. So he actually is eligible for the Pro Series, but he has worked himself down towards the start-finish line. He will qualify for his first ever iRacing.com World Championship event. It looks so for the time being. That'll be in P number 22. As we see there, Rachel, Isaac Price going to have a second bite of the cherry. 3 minutes, 25 seconds to go. He will get himself a lap in the number 12 INX Racing car.
He will indeed, of course. Already has 1 lap on the books. That is a 1 minute 18.825, which is good enough for P17 right now. But he wants more. This is quite a topsy-turvy qualifying session, of course, with the likes of Sebastian Job in P3 right now. Andre Borcha, not always the highest place, well, rarely the highest place commander car, but great qualifying from him. Tommaso Carla, Jeremy Bootaloo also up there, which is nice to see midfielders towards the front for this one. It'd make things interesting if it stays as it is for the likes of Cronke, De Jong and Luis.
Yeah, we rided ourselves along board with Isaac Price. Only other driver on the racetrack is Yorni Tamada. There you can see Tamada. This is back end of the racetrack, down through bridge, right along board. Look at that. Flat out, all the way through bridge corners. He now works himself back into the racetrack. This is Vale, down in towards Brooklands. Just a couple of corners left to go. You notice that gap on the top of your screen as well. 5/1000th of a second, the difference there between Gregor Hutu and Oli Picana. On the exit there, Yorni Tamada, INX Racing leaving it late, but Tamada will get himself a lap in here as he works himself towards the start-finish line. It will be a 1:18.855, enough to move him into P number 19 on the racetrack. No. He has got himself time for 1 more lap. I don't think he's going to do it, as Isaac Price is on the back end of the racetrack himself now, Johnny.
Yeah, Isaac Price has to nail it. He's gone wide again, but hopefully that doesn't abort his lap at all or cancels the time. He crosses the line now. He's in 18th. He goes into 15th. Good time from him. Gains 3 positions. And, so very close in qualifying once again between the drivers. But Hutu also improved. Pakala gave up on pole position. He will start in 2nd. And Sebastian Job, I'll tell you what, he's starting 3rd. Finish the race, Sebastian. Come on. Look how much potential he's got, the young gun. All he has to do is finish this race. Come on. He's starting on the 2nd row. Big opportunity for him.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute and 22 seconds remaining then as far as your qualifying session goes officially, although pretty much every driver has worked themselves all their completed qualifying laps. And what that does mean is we have the opportunity to run through your final qualifying results for this qualifying for the 9th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. It is a team red line lockout on the front row of the grid. Gregor Hutu, 1 minute 18.268 means he gets himself another pole position as he continues his quest to become the first driver in series history to amass a total of 50 wins. Oli Picala will line up alongside him. That makes it a team red line lockout on the front row of the grid. One of the best qualifying performances we've seen by Oli Picala in quite some time. Return to form for him. Sebastian Job, the second race in a row we have seen him in the top 3 in the Apex Racing UK car. However, he wants to make sure he gets himself a little bit further than he did at Montreal just 2 weeks ago. You'll notice P3 through P6, 4 different teams. Andre Borgia for Commander Simsport in 4th. Tommaso Carlo from Ivano Thrustmaster X Team in 5th. And then the Radicals Online car of Jeremy Boutaloop in the 6th position. Martin Kroenke, Mitchell de Jong make it an all Commander Simsport row number 4. Then Patrick Holtzman and Hugo Louise running at your top 10. A miserable day for Hugo Louise after he had himself his best finish of the year so far just 2 weeks ago. We head ourselves back, and you notice it's Antoine Heglin for the Apex Racing UK car in P number 11. Alongside him on the 6th row of the grid is Mo Garfido for the Radicals Online car. Bit disappointing, but he's used to making up positions from that place on the grid. From there on in, you can see that you've got the inside row for 2 rows in a row. That is going to be 13th place for the driver of Robin Friscops. Then alongside him is the Apex Racing UK car of Alex Simpson in 14th. Isaac Price in 15th for Inex Racing as well. Then you've got Radicals Online alongside him with Miguel Martin. A 3rd and 4th inside line there for Inex Racing. Jake Sturgios in 17th. Yoni Tamada in 19th. Mulia in 18th lines up alongside him. And then Peter Berryman also making himself a start into the series. Number 58 car. Welcome to the RaceSpotTV World Championship Grand Prix Series. And he is awarded with a 20th finishing position in qualifications. We head on back. There you can see the remaining drivers in qualifications here. Welcome, as we said earlier, to Danny Garcia Fuller to the RaceSpotTV World Championship Grand Prix Series, and a total of 35 drivers attempted qualifications for today's event. You can see there, rear end of your field, only 1 driver didn't post a time. That was Justin Lindsay in the Ferraz Commander Simsport car, and Ruko Anatolo, the last driver to have set himself a time 1.7 seconds off the pace. Everyone else was separated by just 1.1 seconds in qualifying here at a windy Silverstone circuit. We're going to step ourselves aside for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. We shall be back with a look at the pole lap and discussions as we build ourselves up to the 9th round of the RaceSpotTV World Championship Grand Prix Series, and that will be after these messages.
Truex in the outside, contact made, 56 slides it in at 4, who's going to be at the stripe, dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to mid-race coverage here of the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series from historic Silverstone, where Gregor Hutu scores pole position here in what was a frantic qualifying, almost as frantic as that as we saw in Austria in the FIA Formula 1 World Championship just a couple of moments ago. We are now just 20 minutes away from the start of the second half of the 2015 campaign. We're going to work ourselves a lap on board with Gregor Hutu, as we can see him there working himself down now in towards Luffield. It's this double apex right-hander that scares these drivers so much. You've got to be so careful as you get on the power here. Then you go flat out. You can see a little bit of snap oversteer on the run down in towards Woodcock. Gregor Hutu going to start himself a lap here at Silverstone, down into Copse Corner, turn number one, just lifting off the gas, trying to not run too wide on the exit of the corner. Now you come into Maggots and Beckett. Just listen to the engine notes here. Just shifting down a couple of gears, trying to keep that momentum. It's a momentum racetrack for there. You can easily lose yourself a second and a half. We'll talk about the difficulties in wind conditions here. As now you come down in towards Stowe Corner. The scene of Michael Schumacher breaking his leg down in 1999 on the exit of the corner. Unwind the wheel. Now you come down in towards Club. You first of all turn it to the left. You slow it all the way down. You got to be careful when you get yourself onto the gas here. Don't want to be too early. You'll push too far wide. You can see Hutu fighting oversteer on the centre of the corner, but he's okay as he now comes down into the Abbey chicane. It's a left-hand flick, flicks it first to the left. Now he can be aggressive on the exit of the corner. It's a low curve, but Hutu just hesitating a bit there as he comes underneath the bridge. Now down left-hander Vale. Very careful on the exit of the corner into Brooklands. This is where you need to set yourself up nicely on the run down into Luffield for the final time. This is why Gregor Hutu is one of the best in the business. It doesn't look as though it's a particularly strong lap, but he finds the speed where it matters. Gregor Hutu, another pole position in the series, Johnny.
Sometimes it can visually look, not fast, but then it is on paper. So whatever works, whatever is faster on paper is what you need to do. And Hutu, as always, does that for his whole career, aiming for win number 49 on the WCS career list for him, which will be quite an achievement. 50 will be even better, obviously, but 49 for now. Let's take it one race at a time, Gregor.
Now let's think about the kind of psychology and the mentality behind that, Rachel. I mean, win 49, that's going to be probably easy enough to get. He might well get that here today. It's a track that Gregor Hutu historically has been strong at. Win number 50, that's going to be a bit more difficult. And it's a bit like certain drivers getting there first. It's always tough to get that first win. But then also, there's those landmarks. It's always sometimes occasionally difficult to get it. You think you got it in the bag, and then tragedy comes your way. You get yourself a bad qualifying. You start in the mid-pack. I think Hutu right now, he realised he got beat at Canada. He got beaten very badly, and he knows that he's got to come back because, of course, last season, Martin Kroenke did come back and almost, and I mean almost, snapped that championship away from him.
Yeah, he did, and that was when Gregor Hutu actually stopped perhaps concentrating as much on qualifying and ended up in the mid-pack, ended up getting involved in some incidents, and as it stands, of course, he's realised he has to start qualifying better. He's doing that, and he needs to make sure that he keeps it running. Of course, he could win this race. He starts on pole very nonchalantly. End of the session, just pops out, puts it on pole, one lap. But the race may not be that simple. Of course, he has unknowns starting behind him on the grid. And of course, the first lap's always a tumultuous one, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, we're getting ourselves then a look at this magnificent racetrack here. It is Silverstone. It's been configured a few times over the course of its history, of course. Most recently, back in 2009, 2010. But it's a track still, Johnny, that remains fast. It's been fast its entire existence. Of course, it started off as an airfield, and they built some roads around it. They weren't racing. And it still has that airport feel to it. It's a bit like Sebring. People call Sebring the Silverstone of America. Some Americans will call Silverstone the track that's most related to Sebring, and vice versa. But the thing about this track is it's not stop-start like Sebring. The Maggots-Beckett complex is one of the most difficult corners, and because there's no camber, there's nothing to lean on like you would have at Watkins Glen or you'd have at Suzuka. You've got to rely on the aero and the mechanical grip of that car being picture perfect.
Yeah, fast and flowing, as you say, not stop-start, not a Hilcodrome at all. Copse, one of my favourite corners. Stowe, pretty much maybe top 2 in my favorite corners as a driver. Those two are absolutely amazing to just throw the car in, and you don't hope that the car, you got to trust that the car grips on, and that's all comes with setup with the car. You know, sometimes that front left tire as well through Copston will take quite a beating through these races, so it's important to control that. Sometimes suspension comes into play. There's so many factors you need to go through. And that's why it's so important to test with your teammates in the 2 week have to ensure that the setup is perfect through these classic racing circuits, which of course are very unique. You know, you can't really trade setups between all these other circuits, so Silverstone's one of those unique ones.
And of course, even though Northamptonshire is one of the most boring counties in all of the UK, and trust me, I've lived there, it really is. When it comes to race weekend at Silverstone, it is a sight to behold. The British motorsports fans have really embraced this venue over the last 5 years, becoming sold out. And of course, part of that is due to the fact that we might have, you know, one of the world champions of Formula One in a Mercedes absolutely dominating. But still, let's not forget, this is a track that has been the home of British motorsports since 1950 and that first ever World Championship event. Now, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a fan of NASCAR, we still have the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com. They are next on the air on July 14th. They're taking a month out now. They've just finished racing at Michigan. They're going to head themselves next to the Kentucky Speedway. It's a track that's hosted IndyCar. It now hosts around on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series as well. And on July 14th, it will play host to the world's only officially sanctioned NASCAR series in sim racing. That is NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com. You can check that one out. Our friends over at PSR TV. It's also available on Fan Choice TV, MRN, the Motor Racing Network, and of course on iRacing Live. And as far as we go here in the World Championship Series, well, Rachel, we're heading ourselves after this race also into our summer break. After this race, we've got a month between here and Twin Run Motegi. Momentum is always a factor in this series. I talk about it all the time. But after this race, if Hutu can win, then he can at least go into the summer break knowing that he can match Coanda whenever he wants to.
Exactly, Will, and Hutu needs to win this race. If he wants to set up for the championship, he needs some momentum. He needs to put his stamp back on the series and say, May was not a flash in the pan. I am here, this is my championship, and I'm going to win. Of course, Montreal was a slip, and he could slip again today. If he slips today, it's blood in the water, and the circling sharks will go for him. And as it stands, he has to take it. He has to take the win today, because a month off, without a win, will set him back, and he will not win the next race after the break. Win now, and it could continue.
Anyone who's a fan of tabletop gaming will know a phrase which is called strike hard, strike fast, strike first. That, I think, is what Gregor Hutu is going to do here today. But Johnny, before we head ourselves to our race coverage, we first of all have got to ask, of course, who's going to win this race? Realistically, there are three big contenders. There's Gregor Hutu, there's Ollie Picala, there's Sebastian Joe. Now, Hutu, of course, is a general odds-on favourite, but people forget that Picala is snidey. He will go off strategy. He will take one from his own teammate if he can. Sebastian Job, he does make mistakes in races, but if he can get it together, he very well, and I mean he very well, could cause an upset and at least get in the mix there of those two Team Redline cars.
Well, that's true. Sebastian Job's such a promising prospect, but he's got to finish the race, Sebastian. I mean, he's been up there so many times. He just doesn't reach the checkered flag. To be honest, in my opinion, it's going to be between the two Redline drivers this race, at least going by qualifying. Coanda just cannot match the pace that at least Hutu and Pacala have at the moment. But Job will be right up there. He'll give him a challenge, but I just don't think he has that extra step that he needs. He'll get there maybe sometime before the end of the season, but at the moment, it's all a work in progress for the Apex Racing UK team.
Rachel, final thought?
It's a toss-up yet. Well, in all honesty, I don't know if Gregor Hutu's going to win this season. I think his teammates could take enough points off him that it could become a toss-up between perhaps him and Kroenke. Or it could be Alexei Siakola coming through for something. I think the strength that has been brought to Redline this year will be their downfall. Or it will be Gregor Hutu's downfall as an individual.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us now to head ourselves down to our race coverage. We will step aside for a couple of moments. We shall be back after these messages. You're watching RaceSpotTV, home of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series and the iRacing.com Road Warrior Endurance Series. The world's best events live on the world's greatest sim racing broadcaster, RaceSpotTV. We'll be right back after this.
Truex in the outside, contact made, 56 slides in at a 4, who's going to be at the stripe, dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn one for the first time. You think about the most historic racetracks in the world, and each country has their own. Of course, 1 week ago, it was Circuit de la Sarthe in France. Back at the end of May, it was in Indianapolis, Motor Speedway, and of course also Montreal, just 1 week ago for Canada. You've also had yourself places like Monte Carlo for Monaco, places like circuits of the Americas in America for road racing. You got yourself Circuit Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. You got yourself Monza in Italy, but in Britain, even though there's many racing venues, there's one place that stands out above all others, and that is the track based right slap bang in the middle of Northamptonshire that is known as Silverstone. Now, so many of the world's Formula 1 teams, they have their bases within a 50-mile radius. You've pretty got 4 or 5 of them on the doorstep of this magnificent racing facility. Red Bull Racing just down the road in Milton Keynes, McLaren, Williams, they're close by, but as far as this racetrack goes, it's the memories that have been brought out through the years that make this place so special. From May 13th, 1950, when it hosted the first ever F1 Grand Prix World Championship event all the way through the years. And who can remember the famous move that Mansell made over Patrese, the famous battles that have gone on over the years between the likes of Coulthard, the likes of Hakkinen, Schumacher, Irvine, the late 90s, early 2000s. This track is one that fans love, and it hosts today the second half of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. We welcome you here then to the second half of the season. Will Vincent, Johnny Simone and Rachel Whiteford. Here is a look at your starting grid for today's event. And it was an interesting qualifying, but it was one that we saw that four-time champion of Gregor Hutu get himself once again to the top of the timing standings. There we can see then a look at your official starting grid, and it's Hutu on pole position by 54 one-thousandths of a second over Ollie Picala, Job in third, Borgia in fourth, Carla, Boutalou, Cronke, De Jong, Holtzman and Louise rounding out your top 10. We'll cycle that one through on your screen. Johnny, the second half of the season, it's like a new start. The only issue is some people's got work to do, other people can relax just a tiny little bit.
Oh, well, WCS, certainly no room to relax either for any of these drivers. It's so tough. Even those guys getting they got their pro license, getting experience here today, we're going to see them put their skills to the test at the end of the year. But as you say, some drivers need work to do, and I know my good friend Patrick Holtzman needs to really get a strong result in. He's got the pace, just needs to get that result. As we talked about, Sebastian Job, another driver, he's on a charge today in P3, on towards a pursuit to P1, you could say. And drivers who are dominating, of course, Gregor Hutu, championship leader, so is Martin Cronke. The position where they are now is not necessarily where they're going to finish the season, quite obviously. It's all about how you finish the season rather than how you begin it, unless it's 2009 and you're Braun GP and Jensen Button.
Well, you can see that promo code up on your screen, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a new member to iRacing, get 3 months for $12, all of the free content, including the 4 GT, GT2, GT3 models. Use that promo code you see up on your screen. And also, if you're a current member of iRacing, till the end of the month, get a 1-year addition to your subscription for just $49. Incredible stuff. Well, we are just a couple of minutes away then from these drivers having their practice session come to an end and then being forced onto that starting grid to start round number 9 of this championship. And, well, we need to talk very quickly, Rachel, about Sebastian Job, because last time out, he had himself a great qualifying. Then he had himself misery, lap number 1 of the event. He needs to remember that one. And I always say, it's not about how you mess up, it's about how you recover from that situation. And for Sebastian Job, he messed up at Canada. He can't do the same thing here, because otherwise he really is hurting himself in the chance of not only getting a top 10 in the championship, but also getting himself into that top 25 overall.
Yep, certainly will. And Sebastian Job, really good opportunity for him in Montreal, and it went wrong. And it's gone wrong for him there before in different car classes, so it's something he has to really be aware of. He has to not push too hard. I believe some distraction was at play last time around, so hopefully he's taken that on board and changed what he's doing. He has an opportunity here to have an amazing result for Apex, and for himself more importantly, so really looking forward to him just dialing things back, thinking a little bit more, and going for this one. As a newish guy to this series, he has a real chance to really make an upset before we go to our summer break, so really hoping something good comes from him today and expecting good things. We'll find out in the race.
Of course, starting towards the rear of the field is this guy, Riccardo Talley. If you've never seen an iRacing.com World Championship event before, you know this guy can work himself through the field. He'll be starting right near your field here today, but expect him to charge like only Riccardo Talley can. It'll be incredible to see what he can do. Now, your weather here today, notice the wind speed. It's 14 kilometers an hour and it's southwesterly as well, which is going to play a little bit of havoc on these drivers. Air temperature 69 degrees, humidity 45%. Johnny, what that means, these first couple of laps are going to be twitchy.
No, that's not easy in these cars. It's very hard to get a feel for them, especially as you get out of the pits as well. And trying to make corrections in this car is not easy as well. But And talking about Riku coming through the field, that's going to be entertaining. And you know what? Also, iRacing need to implement formation laps. That would be something. Whether it's next week or ASAP, they need to do it soon, whenever.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are then. We are into the gridding process. So you can see our aerial coverage here today is brought to you by And1 Design, official graphics partner of RaceSpotTV and the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. There you can see then a look at your field. Notice towards the end, they are still working themselves through Woodcott. It's a nice little run down towards your start-finish line and then in towards turn 1 as this field getting themselves ready. Front end, you can see Gregor Hutu is at the front end of this field. It's another pole position for the Fanatic Team Redline driver. He'll be looking to make this one a quick, fast, entertaining and hopefully safe race. There you can see your top 2 rows of this field. We are just moments away now for going racing. 60 laps here in the 9th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, and those engines are revving and the second half of the championship will start, well, right about now. And it's a very slow start there by Sebastian Job. A slow start also by Ali Picana. Andre Borch is going to work himself up 2 positions maybe in towards turn 1. They come for the first time, and it was all concertina between a very slow start for both Borja and Picana and Job. They come down into maggots for the first time. There you can see Sebastian Job. He is already down in towards P number 8. A miserable start for him, but he does get himself off of the line, and I have to say Gregor Hutu, there you can see him, he leads the field down in towards Stoke Corner for the first time. Cronke is apparently up into position now, but what a start we've had by a couple of drivers here, Johnny. They work themselves down. Look at that, Cronke, absolutely amazing start.
Amazing, 4 wide into the first corner. I think Carla and Bocha also made contact. I think it's all good. No damage for Tommaso Carla and that Movano Thrustmaster X car. But amazing start from Cronke on a pursuit towards championship leader Gregor Hutu.
Well, there you can see a couple of drivers who started this race pretty high at the field now are struggling. There's Sebastian Job. He runs himself in P number 8 in the Apex Racing UK car. You can see Ole Picano as well. He runs himself in P number 6, battling it out with Andre Borges to work himself down into Brooklands here on lap number 1. What a thing is, Rachel. Yes, we might have had Sebastian Job complete the first lap of this event, but he fell down a total of 5 positions. Picana had a miserable start, and you had basically 1 row of the grid pretty much going nowhere, and that really stacked this field up.
Incredible start, Will, and just this first lap has been frantic. Every driver trying to get whatever they can on this field, and yeah, amazing start there. We have a Coanda car into the pits, actually. That is, trying to find out who it is now. It could be Hugo Louise. No, it's not.
We'll find out in a moment's time on that one who that is. Say rear end, very rear end of your field. We'll figure that one out. We have got a couple of people.
Paolo Muya in.
Yeah, we've got
Yoni Tomand in. Rico Alatalo is in.
In the interim, however, we have got ourselves out front. Gregor Hutu still pulling himself away. Look at the gap he has already over Martin Cronke. It's 2.2 seconds as he heads himself now down in towards Bridge Corner for the second time. That's into the Abbey chicane he comes into now on the exit of that corner. Now he comes down into Bridge as he's already got himself a 2.2 second advantage. He was able to really capitalize by what is an incredible start by him, but a slow start by P2 and 3 in your field. Confirmation, a couple of drivers down in your field, of course, who are struggling. We'll get confirmation of that. We have got ourselves some slight technical difficulties going on with our timing and scoring. We'll update that one for you as quickly as we can. Here we can see, though, Patrick Holtzman running himself in P number 9. Mitchell de Jong just ahead of him. Rachel, those entire Coanda cars, except for Martin Cronke, seem to be a bit slow off the line. And I think that comes down to the track conditions. I think people were just a little bit careful getting onto that happy pedal when they ran down in towards turn number 1.
Yeah, I think that the slow start by the likes of Borcha and Job really bottlenecked things, but I think what scared most of the field was the 4 wide situation where Martin Cronke got himself to P2. Now, of course, those guys at the front, fine, but when you're sitting behind that on the grid and you're going towards turn 1 and you see cars 4 wide on a straight, you tend to lift off the happy pedal a little bit. You tend to be a little bit cautious, like, oh god, what's going to happen here? Of course, they made it stick, these guys are the pros, but you can always wonder just what's going to happen. So people are a little overly cautious and it's cost them.
Yes, Charlie.
Bootloop spun at the club corner, I think.
He did. Yes, he did.
Well, there you can see there, Jeremy Bootloop in that Radicals Online car, now down in towards P number 12, and that was down just 1 moment ago down at club corner. We'll get ourselves another look at this one. We run ourselves along board with the Radicals Online car. This is an uncharacteristic mistake really for Jeremy Bootloop, just catching a white line there on corner entry, pushing that car on the exit off the corner. Let's figure out what happened to him here. And yeah, just under power. We talked about this at the top of this segment, Johnny. The fact that it's cold conditions here today, and that means that these guys have got to be very careful, especially in the opening laps of a run, as to how they get themselves onto the gas in those medium to fast speed corners. Club corner is the perfect example of that. You go down from very slow for the first sector of it, down into having to put the pedal down hard and the run down into the Abbey chicane. And well, Jeremy Bootloop, that is not something we see of him every single week.
No, certainly not. So I think the roll bar, the front roll bar, there's very, very soft. As ahead of him, I think Stereos is trying to shape up Friscops for a move. But the front roll bar, we'll see how he goes this time around through club. And as well as the differential, you know, so much oversteer on the power. So we've seen great results from Jeremy Bootloop. This time out, he'll come through the corner, same wide line he takes as usual. Very cautious though. See how cautious he was on the power. The guys in front really pulled away, so he's not confident at the moment through the club corner.
Well, one guy who is confident, there you can see him, Gregor Hutu. Last time by, he did himself a 119.983. Absolutely incredible first lap for him. He now exits himself on the exit of Luffield 2. Through Woodcourt he comes to complete his 4th lap of 60 here, and he does himself a 120.0 that time by, within about a 10th of a second of his fastest lap. He is still pushing. Martin Kroenke though, last time by, half a second slower, Rachel, on the run down through Cops. He comes now into Maggots Beckett's, and let's just explore this one on board of Kroenke, because this is so fast.
This is, and yes, it's half a second down from the race leader right now, but still incredibly fast pace from him. He's pulled away by nearly a second from Tommaso Carla behind him. It's a great start there from Tommaso Carla. But yeah, good run down through here, of course, through this late comes, of course, where the new pit road, of course, is up ahead of us in the pit wing complex. And into the Club Vale chicane right now, of course. And as we come down there, yeah, exactly what happened to Bootloop is you've got to be so careful with this corner. It's quite tight, which means when you're putting the power down, you've just got to be careful just how much you measure out. You can't plant your foot, otherwise the back will step, and that's what happened to Bootloop, of course. Good run through for Kroenke, though. He's being caught by Carla from behind. Hutu has incredible pace here today, Will.
He does. Just having a look at Sebastian Job, his last lap time was his fastest, a 120.622. You have a look also at a driver on the front row of the grid, Oliver Picala. His last lap, a 120.5. So here's the thing. Kroenke has raw race pace right now. He deserves to be up in that second position. But the driver of Gregor Hutu is just flying away out front. Now, there is one thing, and we are only on lap number 6 of 60 here, Johnny, and I'm already going to start talking about strategy. If you start the race on the front, you can basically do 60 laps worth of hot lapping. That could be one potential strategy for Gregor Hutu. Lead this race from the front because he is consistently half a second faster. That will translate into an additional pit stop. But if it works out for him, this could be Gregor Hutu having one of his finest displays ever as he tries to claim his 49th victory in the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series.
No, it'll be impressive for sure, as you said. So we're already 10% of the way through this race. So 10% of hot lapping for Gregor. And I really do hope if he's got the same fuel as Martin, which he definitely doesn't, but if he did, that would be quite scary to be, he's 9/10 faster last time around. So he's going to push as usual. If any driver's going to do that, it's going to be Hutu. There's someone, I can't remember, and I'm sorry if I stole their quote, but they spoke about how Hutu is so consistent, literally lap after lap. He won't make, big mistakes. He'll be almost carbon copy, and you need that at a circuit like Silverstone. Fast and flowing, you get into a rhythm here, you're going to have a great race.
Having a look at Yorni Tamala in the Inex racing car as he brings his car back on towards pit road. So there were a couple of incidents in this race. We're going to try and get ourselves a look at that. Now we've got ourselves 10% of this race scored complete. Will take us a moment to get ourselves back into position, but we're going to try and see here then as we work ourselves towards the start of this event. Here's a look at the replay. You can see those engines are a revving, and you need to turn that attention immediately here. Notice how slow they are at the front of the grid. They immediately bunch up as they come down in towards turn number 1, And just look at them. 1, 2, 3, 4 wide into that first corner. Martin Kroenke is the driver who gets the best of it as they work themselves down in towards that first corner. The main part of your field getting through without any incident, but you have a look down at the rear. You can see there's a little bit of jostling for position going on at the very rear. We do have ourselves drivers out of the race at the early going. On Smiley, you can see already having himself a little bit of wing damage. That is on the run through the chapel chicane. That's why he falls all the way back at the very start of this event. We want to try and get ourselves another look then at this replay from on board of this driver of Martin Kroenke. This is going to be exceptional to watch as this field gets going. Look at him go. He goes 1, 2, 3. He just finds himself threading the needle all the way to the outside, down in towards turn number 1. Martin Kroenke, absolutely incredible start. The thing is though, John, if he put one wheel wrong, that would have been a 20-car pileup, but also the incident points there that Kroenke would have got from that basically would have ended his championship.
It would have, and you know what's more intriguing is that he didn't get the best start. It was Mitchell de Jong, who's in 7th at the moment behind. He got a better start than Kroenke, and because de Jong backed off the throttle, there's no space. That's what helped Kroenke pull off that amazing start into 2nd. So something that not a lot of people would see, but de Jong really helped to avoid a collision there with his teammate. No one's at fault really. It's just amazing starts from both of them. And now it's unfortunately cost de Jong any chance of a good start. He's stuck 11.1 seconds behind the leader, but only 5 seconds behind that guy of Kroenke who had an amazing start. So his race is not that bad, but he could have been a lot better than it is right now.
Yep, lap number 8 of 60, we ride ourselves along board with Richard Avery, rear end of your top 20 in the Friction racing car as they work themselves down in towards Stowe Corner once again. Exit of the corner they come now as they work themselves down in towards Club. You can see Avery is part of a 3-car train that's going on right now. Just ahead of him, he's got Michael Dinkel in the Vortex Racing number 51 car. And of course, you can see him generally in ISOWC competition, but he's running, of course, in the ISO.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Miguel Martin there as well. As actually, Dinkel just moved himself up 1 position as our camera just turned away for just one brief moment there, Rachel.
It did indeed. Great moves there from Dinkel, just making his way through traffic. Never have I seen a guy quite so strong running in a crowd.
There you can see Michael Dinkel in that number 51 Vortex Sim Racing car, exit of Club corner. You can see the oversteer, snap oversteer in the middle of the corner. It's okay though, he's going to get himself a run as he looks down into the inside of the Abbott chicane. That was incredibly close, but Michael Dinkel outbraking there that driver Miguel Martin, who normally is a little bit stronger than this, like number 42 Radicals Online car, is struggling just a little bit here today, Johnny. So you can see already Dinkel's pulled out a huge gap as it's already up to almost 1 second, as now Dinkel is having to take the pressure from Richard Avery in that number 44 Friction racing car.
Oh, look at Avery now. Big slipstream, maybe up the inside at Stowe, go for it. He does, no room. And that's Martin closing the door and Avery spins. I think he collects a few drivers there, Will.
Yeah, there you can see Richard Avery. He's going to try and turn it back around. He's going to have to be careful, though. Richard Avery in the Friction racing car. It's a bad camera angle, we know. Try and get ourselves another look at that one in a moment. But Richard Avery, Friction racing car, that one is a combination of many things, I think. Let's get ourselves another look at that one on board of him as he works himself down in towards Stowe Corner. We see our 360 cam will be working for this one down to the inside as they come down into the corner. He then just catches, I think, a white line, puts the power down too early, slow spin, gets himself involved in a little bit of contact as well. That car rolls back. Now here's a dangerous thing. He did try and spin that car off the racing line, and of course we always say the first thing you do is keep that car as still as you possibly can until you know it's safe to turn around. Race controller might want to have a look to see whether he was safe at that point to move himself as that position he was. He has worked himself onto another lap, but he's now down into lap number 31 here. 10 laps of this race, 1/6 scored complete, and well for the driver Richard Avery, he is now a total of 32 seconds back. His car handling miserably there through Cobb's Corner. This is going to be a horrible sign into Maggots and Beckett's. He's going to have to really tippy-toe it around. You can see he's offline into pretty much every single part of that sequence of corners, and Rachel, he is now down 7 places from where he started after running for 1 moment inside of your top 20.
It was indeed. He had major contact there with Martin S. Kolak, which is the initial spin was okay, but it was the car of Kolak, the 53 machine, that tagged him and spun that car around viciously, so damage inflicted on Avery and potentially also on Kolak's car, but Avery certainly limping right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are after live timing and scoring, it is available if you head over to timing.racespot.tv. That is timing.racespot.tv, as we're now into lap number 11 of 60, and your race lead, well, it's up to 7.5 seconds between the Fnatic Team Redline driver of Gregor Hutu and Martin Kroenke in the Ferrari Kawana Sim Sports car. Last time by is a 119.7 for Hutu, a 120.4 for Martin Kroenke. I think this will leave no doubt in our mind, Johnny, that realistically Hutu is on a two-stop strategy or is going much shorter. Now, a two-stopper, you expect him in at lap 20, lap 40. A three-stopper, it'll be lap 15, lap 30, lap 45. A one-stopper between about lap 28 and lap 32.
Not true. We'll see when they all pull into it's generally right what you said there, the numbers. That's what you have to aim for. If you don't, you're going to be it's going to be an odd strategy as Avery comes into the pits. Hutu's got a 7.8 second lead. Nice there. But Avery, when he spun, he's got to, you said he could be at risk of a penalty. He's got to get out of a dangerous position. He's in the middle of the track. He went off. I mean, he pulled off to the other side of the circuit where drivers don't really drive. I think he should be fine from no penalty there, but you know, unfortunately his race taken a turn for the worse. But as you said, strategy, certainly a two-stop for Hutu. We'll wait to see when he comes into the pits around the range that you mentioned there. And 49 laps remaining in this one. Plenty of time to go. Plenty of action could come into play. Carla only half a second behind Kroenke. Good pace from him in P3.
Well, we've just had a look there at Hugo Luis, and we're going to track him there through maggots as he works himself into that one now. And well, Hugo Luis, he started this race in P number 10. He is in P number 9 right now. That is only up one place in this event. I'm going to have to rename Hugo Luis Mika Hakkinen, because it seems for some reason if he's not at the front fighting, he's just kind of drifting back in the fray. And this is not the season that Hugo Luis would have wanted. His return to the World Championship Series after going to semi-retirement just about 1 year ago now, actually. It was just after the summer break. Of course, Kawana Simsport are going to turn a year old after the summer break. But this is not what Hugo Luis would have wanted. His teammate up into P number 2. Realistically, Rachel, we talk about momentum. You're going to have to think that going out of the summer break, Martin Kroenke will be the lead driver at Kawana, and Hugo Luis will be relegated to a supporting role to help Kroenke get himself a world title.
I think, unfortunately, that's going to happen, Will. Hugo Luis has been good, but you're right, Mika Hakkinen. A bit like Alonso at Ferrari, he's there and he's trying, but if it's not going right, the emotion isn't there, and he just falls back a little bit within himself, and he has taken a long period of time off, so of course it will take adjustment, but they have to accept within the team right now that, of course, as it stands, Martin Kroenke is performing the best in that team, and the other drivers will have to support that because he has the most realistic potential for a championship charge.
Well, there you can see the gap between the driver in P number 9, Hugo Luis, and the driver the driver at the front of this field, which is, of course, Gregor Hutu. The gap behind Hugo Luis is just about half a second to the driver of Jake Sturgis, and Sturgis knocking on the door of another strong top 10 finish again in the INX Racing car. Now, this is a track that traditionally INX Racing have been pretty strong at. You can see Jake Sturgis in that number 5 car, heading himself now on the exit of Club. Come on, that was a big wiggle there. Sturgis is pushing it hard. He's got his own teammate Ron Friscops behind, so he's not getting pressure from the rear, but I think Sturgis can smell a bit of blood here. He can smell a Hugo Luis that's not au fait of his car, and he wants to move himself past, and of course, they'll have some clean air for about 3 seconds to drive ahead, which is Patrick Holtzman in that number 27 Movano Racing team car, Johnny.
Yeah, good stuff at the moment for Sturgis. He's got a positive outcome awaiting him in this race, but it won't come to him unless he keeps working hard. If he starts dropping his head and starts to relax, he's not going to get anywhere forward. He's going to finish in P10 or lower, so he's got to push. Hugo, a world champion, is in front of him. Can he dispose of him quickly? Let's see. Only 0.6 behind as he throws the car through the wonderful Maggots and Beckett's complex. Through the exit, he's visibly gained time here on Hutu, or at least not lost as much as we thought. He's getting closer. It's going to come anytime soon, hopefully before the end of the stint, hopefully before the pit stops, as for the first time in this race, I'm just looking at the timing screens, Hutu has dropped Kroenke to double-digit seconds.
Yeah, it's showing up as technically 9.9 seconds. It will tick over to 10 the next time that Hutu gets himself on track. There we are, now exactly 10 seconds. Back down to 9.9 once again as they work themselves now on the exit of Brooklands into Loffield, where you can see it's updating itself. But Gregor Hutu on the exit of the corner now, who put that throttle down as he heads himself down to complete his 14th lap of 60. Here the laps, they tick off so quickly. But for those of you just joining us, Gregor Hutu got himself pole position in today's event, and he just dominated at the start, but it was all going on behind him as P2 Oli Picard and P3 Sebastian Job were just slow off the line. That gave the ever opportunistic Martin Kroenke the chance to go 4 wide into Kopp's corner on lap number 1, taking P number 2, and he is right now dropping Tommaso Carla just about 100th of a second here, 10th of a second there for Ascrino Sinsport running in P2. But what a charge going on right now by Movano Thrustmaster X team. They run themselves in P number 3. They're holding off Rachel, a driver from the Team Redline stable, and I have to say that Carla is showing off why he had it for. He's just so good in the Pro Series of road racing, and he of course had himself a nice little battle with his own teammate Holtzman, but he's coming to his own, I think, in the World Championship Grand Prix Series.
He has indeed some great runs from him, of course, and it's great to see that sort of performance. Right now, he needs to push a little harder and try and get a bit more whilst the sun is shining well. Take advantage of the good performance.
Well, we see we're lining up from the rear there of Tommaso Carla, exit off the corner, and now he works himself down in towards this beautiful Brooklands corner, of course named after one of the oldest racing facilities in the United Kingdom. In fact, it is the oldest official racing track in the United Kingdom. Brooklands, of course, it doesn't exist anymore per se. They're trying to bring it back, but part of it actually is now a Sony tower. Anyone who once watched James May's Toy Stories will know that one when he tried to do the Scale Electric event around that one. But down in the pack, we've got ourselves a couple of scraps going on. Michael Dinkle continues his charge. Driver just ahead of him right now is Jonas Nakurian in the Radicals Online car. Rachel, Radicals generally all season long been strong. They are struggling here today the same way that Kawando is struggling. I think part of the reason why is both these teams, they rely on aerodynamic grip. Here they need both aero and mechanical grip in order to be fast.
Yeah, Silverstone's one of those tracks. Well, you've really got to bring that performance in both sides of the car, both sides of the garage. You've got to have a car that can handle the slow technical corners, but you have to be able to deal with the high speed fast corners. So you've got to have the high speed grip. You've also got to have the low speed traction. So it's a real balance that's so hard to find in these cars, but Silverstone's one of those circuits that really tests both. It
really does. As we are expecting, as I say, as it stands, Gregor Hutu to be on pit road in the next 5 laps time. We'll let you know as soon as anything happens. I tell you what though, all of a sudden Kroenke has started to have Carla catch him again. Oli Picard, we cannot discount him. Of course, he's the driver who started this race in P number 2. And we did say, Johnny, at the top of this segment that he, well, could go off sequence. He could help cover to make sure that a Team Redline driver wins, although he ran very wide there on the exit of Kopp's corner. That cost him 0.2 of a second down into Maggots. Ironically though, gave himself a little bit of clean air.
Yeah, it's going to be really important though as they approach. So Hutu around the next 4 laps will pit now, around lap 20. These guys are around the middle part of the race. So Bakula needs to be as close as he can to these guys in front, and hopefully he can fuel save now, use the slipstream, because yes, there's dirty air, but if you get into the slipstream and you save even just 1 lap of fuel, you could gain a position from the guy in front. If you're fueled an extra 2 laps, you can gain both positions and get yourself into P2 where you started. So really important now, every single corner exit, he needs to get into the slipstream. And trust me guys, it matters, and if you don't think it does, I'll set up a 2-hour stream of why it does and show you definitely how you can save lots of fuel over a race distance.
Well, Alex Simpson runs himself in P number 15 in another one of the Apex Racing cars. He's down 1 position from where he started. If you notice, just ahead of him is his own teammate of Antoine Hegelin. So they're running P number 14, P number 15, battling it out with the driver of Mogar Philo. And you see it's a poor showing so far by Philo. Boostloop, of course, ran inside of your top 10 for a moment. Then he fell down after having a spin down at Club Corner, the exit of Club Corner, realistically. So Jeremy Boostloop not having himself a good run here today. But Rachel, I think back to February. I think back to when we were talking about what we expected to see in this series. And this is one battle that we did expect to see. Apex Racing, versus Radicals Online. But the thing is, this is the first time in a while that Apex Racing have really got themselves into contention with the likes of the Radicals Online team.
Yeah, Apex have been a little quiet this first half of this season. This used to be really the awakening of the Apex Racing team and Apex Racing UK. They've struggled. There's no kind of sugarcoating that one. They've had a tough first half of the season, but they are making inroads and improvements, and it's a big change for these guys. So looking forward to seeing what they do in the second half. Obviously they've started to get that program together and it's benefiting them, but they've got to keep it going.
I think one of the issues was they used to work closely, Johnny, with the running racing team. I think they've been kind of a little bit on their own this year. And of course, new car, it is still a small team. It's not a young team by any way stretch of the imagination. They have been running in sim racing for years. We won't talk about where else, but they've been running in sim racing for years. But they are kind of new as a World Championship team, as this would actually be now a nice chance there for Heglin. He's right up behind the rear of Mo Garfilos to work themselves on the exit of Luffield 2, but Heglin can't do anything there as Philo made a mistake, and now Heglin loosened the power. Apex Racing, they are a young team. They are still learning this game.
Certainly are, and they got a nice boss in Alex Simpson right behind there in 15, so he's leading that project. As team owner, he's got some nice drivers as well as himself with Hegelen and Job in front. So they got a promising future as a young team. Another young team you said as well, Coanda Simsport also doing a great job. So you always can learn from each team, and teams are so important in sim racing. You know, in the real world, you work with your engineers, you have to beat your teammate. In the sim world, it's not like that. You need to work with your teammates. It's quite the opposite. It's more of a team game. Learn what they're good at. You know, battle on track, but learn stuff. Make sure you set up the car well, and it's not just all about setup. Look at their lines. There's so many things you can teach, and let's say, what would you call it? Learn as well, as I've always said, but you know, mentor to other guys in the team. And
it's always interesting to note as well the drivers who actually work within their team. And you can see Commander Simsport, they do work closely with each other, which is why you generally see them, even if they're not going for the win, they're consistently getting top 10. As there's a look there at Marin S. Kolak in that number 53 car, of course, a driver who's racing up in the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series. He doesn't yet own himself a World Championship license. He's only recently accrued himself a Pro Series license, and of course the Pro Series will be here after the conclusion of the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series on RaceSpotTV. That will be in the fall of 2015. He's not the first driver with a Pro Series license. There we can see another one, Sam Bulabaski in the number 64 machine. He's making himself an appearance. He's racing up into the World Championship Grand Prix Series. And also, we've got ourselves a number 52 car of Danny Garcia Filio. And there you can see a wonderful livery in that machine. Welcome to all of these drivers. Iberica Racing working there. I believe actually that is going to be their first ever driver for Iberica Racing in the RaceSpotTV World Championship Grand Prix Series, Rachel.
I think it is, Will, and that's a great sight to see, of course. They've been joined by their GT rivals, Movano Thrustmaster X, of course, recently, so bringing some continental culture to the series. But yeah, it's great to see guys from Iberica in there. They've got some really fast drivers, and I'm glad to see them up in a series. Just want to make a clarification on something. Well, we made a comment on earlier about support drivers and lead drivers at Coanda. I had a comment through about it. I just want to clarify. When we say support, we mean realistically, this guy's chances are good for the championship. We help him achieve that, rather than secondary driver, primary driver.
Yeah, and it's worth noting as well that, of course, when Hugo Louise retired last season, he was going for a championship until that point. If you are a stats guy like me, you will notice that Martin Kroenke actually would have won the World Championship had Hugo Louise retired just a couple of races earlier, because of the fact people forget that 2 of the last 3 races we had ourselves the driver Gregor Hutu not actually complete the first lap of the event. So this is why you have a primary driver and a secondary driver. You have the driver who we know within the team is definitely going for the championship. Everyone else, yes, they are still entitled to go for wins. But a point that you made earlier on, Johnny, is that if you do that occasionally, like Redline did and like Glacier Racing did to themselves last year, you can occasionally, as Hutu's onto pit road, but to finish that point, Redline, they can occasionally risk taking victories away from each other.
Yeah, they can, as Hutu aims to that pit box. It's important not to miss it, so that's we'll watch this as well. But yeah, Breadline, for the moment, Hutu's leading, so they're not going to get in the way of each other at the moment, but that's why you got to talk, you know, voice chat, at least communicate what you're doing with each other before the race, and now Hutu gets his box perfectly. He'll get some fuel in for his two-stop strategy, and he will be out and away, hopefully, quickly.
Yep, so it's going to be 9.5 seconds there for Gregor Hutu as he heads himself now out of pit road. He's into a little bit of traffic. This is going to hurt him potentially, but here you can see there's the two INEX drivers just ahead of him. That's within 1 second. Oh, down to the inside, just on the run down into Maggots. 9.5 seconds there for Gregor Hutu. That is Robin Friscox in the INEX racing car just ahead of him. The issues now, Rachel, is the fact that those INEX racing cars will be lighter. Hutu will be heavier. Hutu's not going to have dirty hair. It's 1 second between himself and Friscox. Boots loop just 2 seconds back. This is bad timing. This is bad placement here for Gregor Hutu.
Yeah, not a great position for him to be in, of course. That two-stop strategy we know he's on now, of course. Lap 21, he came into the pits, so... yeah, definitely two-stop territory, but he's behind some slower traffic. This will really, really hurt him. Surprised the team actually let him pit there, knowing where he'd come out, of course. It's an awkward spot to bring him out in. If you could have brought him in like half a lap earlier, he'd have come out with cleaner air, but he has a huge amount of traffic. Just not just these cars in front, these three. There's another 4, another 2 seconds up the road, so this is going to eat into the advantage he's got. Yes, Tommaso Carla heads to pit road, looking like a two-stop from him as well.
Yep, so then we had 2 of the 3 drivers running inside your top 3 on two-stop strategies. Ravano Thrustmaster X Teams, number 28 machine, Tommaso Carla, on towards pit road. He's going to get himself 4 fresh tyres. He will top himself up with fuel on what is likely to be a two-stop strategy. We'll keep an eye there on the time here. He can make it go very long, but no. 8.8 seconds. He is out and away as we have a look then from our aerial coverage brought to you by And1 Designers. Carla back onto the racetrack, heading himself behind the stand there, down into the Maggots Beckett's complex. He will come once again as well. Carla is now down in P number 18. The issue is actually he's got himself a better run. We talked about that dirty air earlier, Johnny. He's got no dirty air. Gregor Hutu, well, he did have dirty air. He has fallen back out of it just a little bit. But it is worth noting that Jeremy Bootleap, that last lap, caught Gregor Hutu by about 0.3 of a second. Bootleap could well be the deciding factor in today's event.
He certainly can, though. I'm watching, though, Hutu's relative times. He might be getting into a rhythm now because he's slowly... well, he was catching Friscox in front. Now the gap is dropping, so something's gone on. They're almost even on pace, the guys here. Bootleap, though, is very fast towards the end of the stint now. They're probably going to pit in about 5 to 8 laps time, you could say, all these one-stoppers. So the fuel is definitely not that different. So Hutu's fresher tyres at this stage can still help him avoid being passed.
Sorry to interrupt you. Picard is on towards pit road, so he's on to pit road as now. Andre Borch is on towards pit road, so it looks as though it's a long two-stop. Potentially they're going to try and eke this out to a one-stopper there. Andre Picard, no, 9 seconds. That isn't long enough there on the gun. He's out and away. And let's have a look. Andre Borch at 8.9 seconds out and away. These drivers at pit stops, we know, Johnny, they're going to have to be about 13 seconds to make it to the end of the race here. They're not doing that right now. They don't want to take the additional 5 seconds worth of fuel. These are long first stint, short middle stint, and a very short final stint here. But, well, we've got ourselves now, I have to say, Martin Kroenke in a very strong position.
He certainly can take 2 wins in a row. And what about that for momentum going into the summer break? You know, mentally as a driver, you just be positive, walk around everywhere smiling and joyful and happy. But, you know, how many people do you think in the real world would care about Kroenke winning this race outside of sim racing? I think promotion needs to be done with sim racing, is educating people how different this is to, you know, pressing buttons on certain, you know, soccer, football games, whatever you want to call it. You know, he's achieving greatness here. Yes, the race isn't even over. I'm calling it early, but I mean, whoever wins this race is going to walk away with pride. But how many people outside of sim racing are going to value that win? You know, I just something going through my mind. I'm in a very critical mood. But let's see what happens for Martin Kroenke as he approaches his first and only pit stop for the day.
Well, you can see Rico Adatalo, he is almost 80 seconds behind your race lead. That means he is almost classified as 1 lap down. Not a day that Rico Adatalo will be like to worth remembering here. 32nd place He's got himself 2.3 seconds up the road. Justin Lindsay, the brother there of that TNT racing car. Justin Lindsay, as you can see there, 1 minute 14 seconds behind your race leader. It is worth noting here that we have got ourselves more drivers on towards pit road. You can see at the rear of the field, Yavaz, Dimitrianis, they are on that long quasi front. Stop Yavaz out and away in the Orion Race Team car, 13.1 seconds. He will actually be good to go towards the end of this race. Dion Vergers is not. There you can see the Vortex Sim Racing car out and away, 7.7 seconds. We now turn our attention though back again to Martin Cronke. You see nothing there, no gap. He is now ahead of Raquel Atali. Got himself a little bit of tow, 4.8 seconds a gap there between himself and Sebastian Job. Rachel, Job, I have to say, after his slow start to this event, he's actually been pretty consistent. His last lap time, well, 1:19.476, so it's actually 0.3 of a second faster than Martin Cronke.
Yeah, and he's warming up slowly, I think. He's not been quite prepared for the pace, perhaps at the start. I don't think he was expecting him to be that quick. But he's rolled with the punches. He's caught up pretty quickly again, so he's doing a great job. He could have been really caught out with that, and he overcame it. I don't think he's used to how fast they have to start up front. He's so used to starting at the back that it's just a different pace.
Michael Dinkel on pit road. As you can see, another driver coming on towards pit road just as he exits. That would be very close to an unsafe release, as Michael Dinkel's going to head himself now back out onto the racing circuit, and his pit stop time, well, that was 9.4 seconds. You've got Marinette Collard completing his service, 9.9 seconds. Sam Bulabaski, 10 seconds exactly for him. And then Danny Garcia Filio making his first pit stop in the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series in just 8.8 seconds. Now you've got to be careful when you work it back out onto the racetrack. And remember, there's a driver in the Verizon IndyCar Series making his first pit stop, then bam, right into the tyre barrier. It's just because of the cold tyres. Let's pay attention. It's Cronke onto pit road, 27 out of 60 laps of this event scored to complete. We can see from behind him as well, he's got himself a couple of other drivers on pit road with him. As you can see, you've got Sebastian Job. Hutu goes back to the race lead. Job is going to pit as well. It's a fast stop there, 7.9 seconds for Cronke. That's one stop. That's not one stop territory. Sebastian Job, what pit stop time is he going to do? Is he going to try and fill it all the way up? I think he might be doing so here. Sebastian Job, a long stop, almost too long there for Job. I think he sped on pit road. We talked about Sebastian Job not making an interim, and he makes one there. 22.3 seconds. Sebastian Job speeding on pit road. Another race thrown away for him, Rachel.
Yeah, this is what he did not need. Just, oh, so unfortunate for Sebastian Job. He had the potential for another top 10 results, and gone. Just a silly mistake. You've got a pit limiter. Use it. It's just getting the car slowed down enough is, yeah, you have to apparently 106 entering pit road, so that's a little fast.
As we can see that Gregor Hutu has gone back to the race lead. Jeremy Bootclip, of course, hasn't yet pitted, but he is 2.6 seconds behind your race leader. And the concerns we had about Bootclip potentially being a factor in this event, well, they are, for the time being, alleviated. As you can see, Bootclip actually going to work himself towards the end. Now, I'm a little bit concerned here, Johnny. I don't understand what that driver Cronke's just done, because his second stop was basically, he's going to pit exactly the same time as Gregor Hutu. What's the point in doing that? If I'm going to be frank, what's the point of doing that? You can't go toe-to-toe with Gregor Hutu today. He's putting out half a second a lap over you. So why are you going to be doing this strategy? He's going to have to be half a second quicker than Hutu just to make it a straight fight in that final run to the flag. I don't think it's going to work. I honestly think that Commander Simsport have made the wrong call here.
The only reasoning I can think of is that Martin or Cronke and Coanda believe that they're definitely fighting Gregor, but they won't have to worry with him at the end of the race. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I think maybe they think they'll be in front of him and they won't really have to defend too much. He probably can't get past because, yeah, we'll see how this pans out. I don't want to make too many predictions because we're not even halfway through this event, so plenty of things to evolve.
Well, we are working ourselves on lap number 28 of 60 here in the 9th round of the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series. Now, some drivers haven't yet pitted. as we get a look from up above here, and they are Jeremy Bootsloop, who is working himself down towards the start-finish line once again. There you can see him. He runs himself in P number 2 in the Radicals Online car. P number 3 is Mo Garfilo, also for the Radicals Online car. Just behind him, these two Apex Racing drivers we were talking about, there's Antoine Hegelin, and then you've also got yourself Alex Simpson. He runs himself in P number 5. They've not pitted. Peter Berryman, also for Apex Racing UK, has not yet pitted. Second driver to have pitted, well, that's Martin Kronke. Jonas Nakurian, Radicals Online, also hasn't pitted. So essentially, what we have here are two teams going into one-stop strategies. They are the Radicals Online team and also the Apex Racing team. There are one or two drivers who have brought themselves from a two-stopper to a one-stop strategy. Most notably is Zhao Vaz, as he will likely feed into about top 15 when all is said and done. But Rachel, we thought this was going to be clear one-stop territory. We've been proven wrong. Evidently, it must just be too hard to put a heavy race car around this while staying competitive. Perhaps people realised that one when everyone saw Hooch coming towards pit road doing a two-stopper. They reacted, but a lot of these guys, I think, were good to go to about that halfway point, and they were prepared, I would say, to do whatever they needed to. Turns out everyone's doing the same thing, unless you're Apex Racing or Radicals.
I gotta think this is a panic reaction, Will, to, you know, Hutu pitting. I can't understand how he was half a second faster than the field per lap. And it wasn't a difference in strategy. What were they doing? Had they planned on one stop and saw his pace and tried two? Because changing strategy mid-race is always a recipe for disaster. If you're going to gamble with a strategy, stick to that strategy. Changing it halfway just puts you on the back foot. It puts you behind the people who originally decided to use that strategy, and you're never going to catch them with it. Yeah, Hutu's in traffic now, and maybe they think they can stay ahead of him doing this, but if they had the same sort of fuel level, and Kronke was half a second slower, what makes them think they can keep him behind them? Now, we do know the Dirty has a major problem with his car, so if he's ahead, there's a fairly good chance he could stay there. But at the same time, this could have been an easy one-stopper. I think with the fuel, they can do it distance-wise, but more importantly, the traffic for a two-stop candidate is huge. There is so much traffic that, and passing is so hard that I think they would have easily pulled away with one stop regardless of the drop-off. So, interesting and difficult to understand at the same time.
Well, here we can see Alex Simpson in P number 5. We're keeping an eye out of anything coming on. Yes, Simpson is on towards pit road this time by. So here you can see driver slowing himself all the way down to about 75 kilometers an hour. We have a look then from up above. Let's see, is he going to be the only one on pit road this time by? It looks like we're going to see another one of the Apex Racing UK cars. That is Peter Barham. And the reason why they do one or two here, one or two in the next lap, Johnny, is because they don't want themselves running into each other on towards pit road.
Yeah, so this is good stuff for them. So Berryman not speeding across the pit lane for all the kids watching out there. That's how you do it. And he's out in the way. So is Alex Simpson. Good pit stops from them, working together. Let's see. They're going to feed out behind Sebastian Job as well. So Job's dropped down so much after that pit stop. Actually, Alex Simpson goes behind Jorge Montañez, I believe, in 18th. So as you said, in sequence team, you'll see a lot of teams who are on similar strategies will pit at the same time. I know I've seen Coanda and Redline do that throughout the early parts of the race, the early parts of the season in some races. So you got to work together. Strategy is going to be similar between team members, but not between different teams.
We're now just waiting for the Radicals Online trio of Jeremy Bootsloop, Mo Garfilo, Druid's coming towards pit road. Antoine Hegelin's going to be right there around him. And actually, we're going to stay out for another lap, does Bootsloop. But we are going to see Filo on towards pit road this time by. That's how you slow it down if you're Mo Garfilo. That was pretty much as close as you can get there. You see a little bit of the wiggle as he works himself on towards pit road. Lap number 32 of 60 here then. And Mo Garfilo. Well, I tell you what, I have to say that Bootsloop's recovered well after his little bit of an incident at the start of this run, but we could have seen so much more from Bootsloop here, and it's uncharacteristic, Rachel, but Philo once again showing why he is such a strong asset to that team. Race in, race out, he just turns up, does his job. As you can see more there, the Radicals Online drivers coming on towards pit road. There is Jonas Nakurian, and behind him Paul Ilbrink and also Tom and Megalet coming on pit road for TNT Racing.
Yeah, they are indeed, and Philo's an incredible driver. He's got great consistency and great performance, and he just seems to do everything he can. Bootsloop, though, we really, like Job, we expected a lot more, I think. We thought they're in a great position to really do something for once. They've got track position. Let's see a good result, but they've managed to find a way to throw it away, and that's disappointing.
Well, Jorge Montanez then is going to be pretty much the second to last person to pit here today. And for the first time in this event, as you can see, 11.1 seconds, he is out and away. Jeremy Bootsloop, though, let's have a look as he works himself in now on towards pit road. 32 laps. He's going to be one of the 2 longest drivers. So having a look from the rear of him, does he bring Antoine Hegelin onto pit road with him? The answer to that question, we believe, is yes, as you can see, just back end of your picture there. So here's Jeremy Bootsloop, and he means that we now, with Antoine Hegelin, complete our entire sequence of pit stops. Such a slow pit stop here as he worked himself underneath that Santander bridge, but you can see the Radicals Online car. Of course, once you get later onto this run, that pit stop, that one and only pit stop, is going to be shorter. We've seen it as high as 13 seconds. It'll be about 11 seconds in this case. 11.2 seconds out and away for Jeremy Bootsloop. Antoine Hegelin going to do roughly the same 11 seconds as he completes his sequence of pit stops. And what that means is we're now done. Everyone, one pit stop in today's event. And it does mean that Gregor Hutu is back into the lead of this field, but he's still putting out a gap over Martin Kroenke. Last time by, it was a 119.6 for Gregor Hutu, a 119.7 for Martin Kroenke, as we're now into the second half of today's event. And we are going to step aside for just one moment, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with our mid-race review and a look towards the second round of pit stops after this message. You're watching RaceSpotTV.
It's been a very long off-season. Teams have changed, sponsors have changed, colors and all, but one thing that hasn't, they like to mash the loud pedal. Green flag is out on the 2015 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series season.
iRacing is the ideal platform for these broadcasts because we have the best racers, the best online racers in the world, and we have such a variety of racing, from NASCAR to Grand Prix style racing, sports car, endurance racing. We do it all.
Since 2010, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series has been the absolute pinnacle of road racing in a simulated form. Great start then by Yakoda from the front. They're packing up behind number one. They're going to be 4 wide as they come down into turn number 1 for the first time. Will they make it through that first corner? You can see them funneling through the center S's. It looks as though everyone is just about made it through. We have got ourselves some contact though, Rachel.
Side by side going into turns 3 and 4. Humpy's got the advantage, but Ottinger's not going to.
Oh, he got into him!
Ottinger gets into the 58, turns right into him, and that ends Ottinger's run.
We do a lot of live broadcasts now. Every Tuesday is NASCAR night, so on alternating Tuesdays we do the Peak Antifreeze Series, and on the other Tuesdays the B-Class Series, which is the Xfinity cars, and sometimes we'll even do some short track racing depending on the schedule. Every other Saturday we do the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, so the best road racers we have. And we also broadcast some special events, including the Endurance Championship, which is part of the Road Warriors Series. So we broadcast the Daytona 24, the Sebring 12 hour, we'll do the Watkins Glen 6 hour, several other races along there. And then of course the iRacing Pro Racing Champions, which is usually our biggest and most watched event of the year.
That is short track racing, and that's how awesome this sim is, Joe. That's something you see on TV on highlight reels, and we just saw it here, live.
We invite iRacers who are real world racers, and they compete every December. Guys like Alex Gurney, Justin Wilson, Scott Speed, Ron Capps, the list goes on. Really some big name drivers from all major forms of motorsport. It's really neat to see them get together and race together.
See Laughlin up top, down to the ball, gets turned! Laughlin gets turned! Caution is out foul at the front of the field!
The easiest place to find the broadcast is on our website, iracing.com/live. So you can find some of our races on fanschoice.tv as well. A nice place to find iRacing broadcasts. You can also find it at mrn.com and peakauto.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we might be approaching the summer break in the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series, but we, of course, are just 3 weeks away from the 3rd round of the iWCGPS Endurance Championship for 2015. That is the 6 hours of the Glen. It is the hottest event of the summer, and it lives here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. We start at 1 o'clock on that day, and of course, we'll be with you throughout the course of the entirety of the 6-hour event, as we do welcome you back here to RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live for the 9th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. And Johnny, you were saying whilst we're on commercial that Hugo Luis, he needs himself something to happen to him. Of course, he's been in a kind of a state of flux really since he lost himself the 2013 season. Last year he won himself a race and he went toe-to-toe for a while with Gregor Hutu. Then he ended up retiring. He came back this year, but he's not been the same Hugo Luis as we saw win the 2011 championship. It's the Hugo Luis that arguably is a shell of his former self.
He needs, as I said, you're correct, he needs something like a big springboard to just motivate him, anything, even if it's one big thing that motivates him to push, and that's going to help him find 2-3 tenths just mentally every round. That's what he needs to succeed. So, I mean, it's not over for him. It's not he's definitely got lots of potential. It's annoying me now watching Hutu lapping these cars. You know what? For every blue flag that isn't obeyed, I think they should give 25 place grid penalties. The same way they gave Button in Formula 1 25 place. Because it's so annoying. All these lap cars, they're taking so long to get out of the way. And it's costing Hutu time. He's lost time to Kroenke as well this lap. Seriously, there should be one drive-through penalty for every corner that you don't let the leader pass. Or something like that. It needs to be punished. Because the rules aren't specific as to how many, it's like almost a full lap sometimes that drivers don't let you through.
Well, actually, yeah, you're right, sorry. I was going to say that in iRacing.com, the blue flag doesn't mean you have to go out of the way, but in the World Championship Grand Prix Series, it does, in fact, mean that. So, yeah, we have live stewards that should be keeping track of that one, and people drive as if you don't move.
Well, there you can see Hutu trying to work himself past a little bit of that traffic. He's got a lot more of it that he's got to deal with. Of course, that is part and parcel of being the race leader. You are the first to get past them. You notice that there were actually quite a lot of people battling around this TNT racing car nicely out of the way. That one is how you do it. Well done, Benjamin Lindsay, in that TNT Racing number 34 car. But of course, Rico Alatalo, Tom and Meglek, they are scrapping it out. And you have got to ask that question. If you've got 3 drivers this close together, what do you do? How do you do it? As we now are 38 laps in, of course, we do expect Hutu back on towards pit road in the next, I would say, 4 laps time. He is incredibly pushing it right now. He knows, as he's got himself another 3 drivers he's going to have to pass, and they're going too wide ahead of him. At what point, Johnny, do you have to stop going too wide and just get out the leader's way? Because within about a second, there's a driver pushing wide. I believe that's one of the Vortex sim racing cars. Indeed, it is. Well, he will stay off the racing line there. That's a good thing. But now you've got yourself Sembo Lubaski, Danny Garcia-Filho, and of course, these are 2 new drivers to the series as well. This is the first time, realistically, that they will ever have to obey a blue flag rule here on iRacing.
The rule needs to be specific. It needs to say, once you get a blue flag, if you don't get out of the way, it needs to be specific. It can't be, just 3 blue flags. It needs to be either 1 or nothing, or 2 or nothing. It needs to be specific. So, I mean, at the moment, this is costing Hutu. He's lost a second already, lapping all these cars. He's going to pit. He's going to feed out behind Patrick Holtzman in 7th place, or around the same position. So, he's got a lot of work to do here. He's going to have to fight for it. It's not going to be easy. He's going to feed out of the pits around 18 seconds behind the leader. It's going to be game on for the 4-time world champion.
Well, here is Mitchell de Jong, who runs himself in P number 5 right now. Just ahead of him is Tommaso Carlo. Of course, Carlo is on the same kind of lap strategy as Gregor Hutu. He came in 1 lap later than Hutu. For those of you just joining us, most people have done a 2-stop strategy. There's a variance of about 8 laps between those that came in at the start of it and the others that came in at the end. It was a 9.5 second for Gregor Hutu. Stop is 8.2 seconds for Mitchell de Jong. They will likely come onto pit road with about 3 laps with each other this second time around. Just behind de Jong is his own teammate, Andre Borcher. Even de Jong is struggling with this part-time schedule he's running, Rachel. Of course, real-life racing commitments do come into play. De Jong doesn't run every round this season, but when he does, he's very strong at some tracks. I think this is one that his entire kind of team have been really struggling at.
Absolutely. Coanda as a team have really suffered for this round. They're so strong, of course, let's not forget Montreal. But it's been, I think, it's a strategy failure perhaps, or the car's not quite perfect and they panicked and changed some strategies later on, which has meant they've pushed onto a 2-stop. It makes things difficult. De Jong, of course, yeah, his real work must take a lot of time, but I don't think it's him that's struggling, I think it's Coanda in general.
Well, we are now 2/3 of the way into this one. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, the second we finish with the race, we'll take you to the RaceSpotTV post-race show. John Rachel Whiteford and Johnny Simone for that one, as we get interviews from the best of the drivers in the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series. We're going to want to hear a couple of specific questions. Specifically, Johnny, why are some of these drivers in Coanda struggling so much here today? I think that's our big story. But also, what's been going on with strategy here today? And I'd love to hear the rationale from Gregor Hutu, why he was so different from some of his teammate of Ali Picala. Now he's on to lap 40. We're expecting him in 2 laps time. We're going to ride, though, a lap on board with Hutu. Talk me through it.
Yeah, so Hutu sweeps the car into turn 1, missing the apex there. You've got to use the curb through turn 1, and then looking, as there's a lap car as well. So don't focus on that, focus on the curbs now. Get one part of this Maggots-Beckett's complex wrong as Hutu gets loose. Not the best lap so far, it has to be said, as he makes a little mistake through there. Probably lost about a couple of tenths already through the first few corners. Getting the slipstream, staying to the left side of the track, and then my favorite corner in motor racing, Stowe. Lovely through there, getting on the power nice and early. Feel the rear end try to step away from you, but you really have to make sure your car control is top notch. As now he gets a he's got a very tight line through club. I thought there was an issue there, but as he focuses on bridge now, the old Silverstone. Lovely through bridge, using both of the curbs as well, and then now under the bridge. Sorry, that was not bridge. This is under the bridge. And I love Brooklands because you're using as much of the curb as you can. You have to quickly jink left here and then set yourself up for Luffield. But then the power through Luffield is so hard to get. As you can see, Hutu there had a little bit of a jiggle. I'm not sure if a lot of people saw that, but he struggled to get on the power out of Luffield. Important with rear ride heights in the setup to make sure that if you want to get power down out of corners, the rear ride height needs to be perfected.
We've got another driver on pit road. That is Dion Vergers. He's feeling like I didn't want to feel like he did that day. He wanted to be taken to the place he loved. That was down into his pit box. He runs himself in the Orion Racing car down in P number 28 right now. He is out and away for his second stop of the day in 9.7 seconds. But we are now looking live at Ollie Picard versus Tommaso Carla versus Mitchell de Jong. P3, P4, P5. This could well be Rachel Carla's first ever podium. And this could also be Movano's first ever podium in the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series. We talk about first. This one could be huge because I think Carla would have earned this one incredibly well today.
Yeah, I think he would have done. He's had a great run so far. And of course, P4, if you can hold on to this, that's a great run. That's impressive for him. And I think one of his best finishes yet. So he can definitely be proud of himself today.
Well, here we are, lap number 42 now. As we can see, a couple more people will be coming on towards pit road in just one moment. We see our attention there on Hutu. He's going to drive it on towards pit road. We ride on board of him, slowing it all the way down. That was very fast on towards pit road, actually, there. He gets away with it just about there. That is what makes him a world champion, though, Johnny. He knows exactly how fast he needs to be. He knows exactly what the pit road rules are. He comes underneath the Santander Bridge, heads himself into his pit box. Gregor Hutu got another race potentially sealed here. You know why? Because Kroenke is now going to have to blitz his next 10 laps to even put Hutu into the running. The gap was that big.
Yeah, he's nice pit stop from him. Very quick as well in the 8-second range. So, as you said, he's almost like a robot, Gregor Hutu. He's a gun, and he knows it. 18 seconds, as I said, I was correct. Give me the cash there, everyone, because 18 seconds from leader Martin Kroenke, and now he's going to really push. What is it, 18 laps remaining, so 1 second a lap faster he needs to aim for. Probably more, because he's got 4 cars in front to pass
as well. But Kroenke needs to pit again.
Game on for Gregor.
But Kroenke, in my opinion, has to pit again. We'll keep an eye out on that for us Aquana Sim Sports car. There you can see him working himself through traffic That is not Oli Picard behind him. That is lap traffic just behind him. He's got lap traffic just ahead of him as well. The same issues that Gregor Houtu had earlier. Now Martin Kroenke is having to deal with. And of course, that's the thing, Rachel. It's, you know, it swings and roundabouts. We were talking earlier about, you know, how hard it is for the leaders to get past people. Kroenke's having the same thing. He's the leader now, and he's actually coming onto pit road. He's covering immediately there. Kroenke, oh, onto pit road. I think that's partially traffic, partially frustration, but Kroenke, he can't win the motor race from here. He's coming on towards pit road, 70-ish kilometers an hour. Well, bye-bye race win, and I'm gonna call it right now. Congratulations, I think, to Gregor Houtu for his 49th victory.
Yeah, indeed. Just reactionary strategy here from Coanda. They could have gone one stop, and I think with the traffic we've had today, they would have been absolutely fine. We've had a teammate coming in there. That's Mitchell de Jong. If they'd have gone one stop with the traffic that Houtu's been experiencing, I think Coanda could have won this. They could have had a 1-2-3 maybe. But reactionary two-stop, it's cost them.
And the gap is still about 10 seconds to Gregor Houtu. Just doing the math there quickly in my head. It is about 10 seconds. We did also see, of course, another one of the kind of Sim Sports cars coming on towards pit road. It does mean that Oli Picard leads this event. Now, let's see how long Picard can go. His pit stop time was 9 seconds. That was about 2.1 seconds longer, Johnny, than what we were able to see Martin Kroenke do, as he now works himself down in towards this lovely infield complex. This is really a bit like Hockenheim. When you think about how fast the rest of the track is, and then how slow this final sector is, people never compare it to Hockenheim, but really kind of is, like stadium section. Oli Picard is now actually himself onto pit road as well. What's going on here?
No, I don't know what's going on. We obviously aren't the strategists. We just have to make our predictions and we watch the race. But for now, Picard is on towards pit road, handing the lead to Holtzman, who will, I think, lead his first laps. No,
Houtu's going to come past first.
Yeah, Houtu comes past first, so that takes it away from me. Picard, don't miss your pit box. Look at that. That's so important as well. Guys watching out there, as I speak about all the kids who want to learn, angle your car away into the exit. If you say 0.1 of a second, and that's the gap between you and P2, that's what matters. The pit stop phase, you can gain so much time in that small little phase right there. So quick pit stop for Pakala,
and he's out in P4. Because I have to disagree heavily with that one. Angling the car towards the exit might be a faster exit, but it makes for a slower pit stop time.
But we have got more drivers on pit road. That's the important stuff right now. More drivers doing their second pit stops. Antoine Hegland, Patrick Holtzman, Jake Sturgios, and also Sebastian Job, all doing themselves their second round of pit stops. And this is how it looks right now then. Gregor Houtu has made himself 2 pit stops, 8.5 seconds. Then we've got ourselves Hugo Louise. He's 4.9 seconds back. He's only made 1 pit stop so far. Kroenke, a further 5.9 seconds back. He's made 2 pit stops. Then Picard in 4th place has made 2 stops. Mitchell de Jong 2 stops in 5th. Then Boostloop's made 1 stop. He's in P6. We do expect him to be good to go towards the end of this race. And of course, he did run in P6 at one point, but he's under immense pressure right now on Tommaso Carla in that number 28 car, who too, Rachel, has now made himself his 2nd stop of the day.
So he's gonna definitely win this race. 49 hashtag Hutu49. I just made that up about half an hour ago, but I thought we'd use it publicly. So he is on a pursuit towards 50s. Good stuff from him. For Gregor, he's got a few lap cars in the way. Don't make the same mistake I did last week, for those who might have been watching me. And he's gonna win another great result for Hutu. We're calling it early, but 15 laps remaining. The strategy was so unexpected today. Expecting a lot more one-stops than we saw. I really do feel that if someone with pace, such as Kroenke, committed to a one-stop, I really feel that he could have pulled it off. But that's just, you know, it's easy said than done.
It is. And of course, you need to be consistent on a one-stopper as well. It comes down to a couple of things. First of all, managing your tyres at the start of the run. Making sure you don't get too frustrated. Making sure that when you come to your second stint, you make sure that you do exactly the same thing. Not get too frustrated, manage your tyres, all this other stuff that we keep on talking about. But here's the thing. 10.7 seconds, a gap between Hutu and Kroenke. Hutu will have that momentum. It'll be number 49 in potentially 15 laps time for that Finnish driver as he is back on that charge. As it stands, that gap in the championship will head itself back to 1 race win. Having a cushion of 1 race win as you head yourself into that summer break? Well, here's what it does to you, Johnny. It means you can relax. It means that you can take a week off and not have to worry about intensive testing. What it will do, though, is it will fire up Martin Kroenke. Anyone who saw last year's campaign on RaceSpotTV will know how good Kroenke was out of the gun after that summer break. As we're looking now, Tommaso Carla versus Button. I think this is going to be a scrap to watch for the next 5 laps. And I think that Carla is really going to have to work it to find himself past the ever-willing Jeremy Button. So get that speed chart up on your screen.
Yeah, maybe now. So he's got a lot of speed in that Movano car. So we know, I think Hutu was maxing out at 301. So Carla's about 5 kilometers an hour faster. You talk about being revitalized after a break. Learning, you know, as a manager, sometimes if someone works an hour a day for 30 days, but they don't take a break, it can be as effective if they work for 28 days an hour a day and take 2 days break. They can be even more effective. So I hope that made sense. The thing is that for Kroenke, if he can still be positive, same with Hutu, get a good revitalization for yourself. You know, drink some iced tea or whatever you need, and enjoy the European summer. Not you people in Britain, but for the other people, and just, you know, keep your mindset going for the season, because when you have to test every day for the World Championship, it takes its toll on you. You know, you can't just tell people in your private life, you know, oh, tonight I've got a test for sim racing. No one cares about sim racing. You just got to do it yourself. So the point is now, coming out of the season, we want to see Kroenke give the fight to Hutu. He's currently coming into this round at 39 points away from Gregor. He's the only guy who's within a race of Hutu. Can he do it after the season? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, there you can see
break.
Jake Sturgis is working himself in P number 12 right now. Patrick Holtman versus Antoine Hegelin. This is going to be a nice little scrap between the driver of Holtman, looking down to the inside as he heads himself down in the Movano Fastmaster car. He's going to work himself there past Antoine Hegelin. Nice, quick, easy, comfortable, executed pass there by Patrick Holtman. Everything you need to do on the run down in Stoke Corner. People often forget, Rachel, how good a passing opportunity Stoke Corner is. You've not really got a turn 1 that you can pass at. Stoke Corner is like what turn 1 should be if they were to just move the start-finish line down the hangar straight away. But I tell you what some amazing overtakes we've seen over the years down in towards Stoke Corner.
Yeah, certainly, and Stowe is just one of those corners. It's an incredible opportunity for passing if you are so brave, and it is the territory of the brave drivers. But Silverstone has some awesome passing opportunities, of course. It's just one of those circuits that grew organically and has developed to a point where it's truly a race driver's track. It has not been designed on a drawing board with tools and with angles and calculations. It grew, it developed, and it is as organic as a human body. And just look at the racing. It says it for itself. You never have a boring race at Silverstone.
As we can see, Peter Berryman then in the number 58 Apex Racing UK car versus Robin Friscobbs in the number 19 INX Racing car. Onto the back straight away they come, and Friscobbs said a little bit late getting into the draft. We get that speed chart up here. I don't think it's going to be enough there, even though it's an overspeed of about 5 kilometers an hour down in towards Stoke Corner. Robin Friscobbs isn't able to put one on the rookie as Friscobbs pushing very wide there. That'll load Job down to the inside. Job will get that position done as they head themselves down now on the exit of Club Corner. Side by side, we work ourselves along board with Friscobbs. You can see that Job will have the inside line into the next corner. Job, optimistic as ever. Well, that one makes up for his incident on pit road there, Johnny.
Oh, it was so close to contact with Friscobbs, and now coming towards under the bridge and then through the nicely cambered corner. Friscobbs not giving up on this. Good stuff from both drivers, but I think they did make contact. I'm not sure. And, well, they live for another day, both of them. Good stuff for them. He's up into 15th position, but bittersweet for Sebastian Job. He could have been right up there in the top 5 in this race.
Well, there you can see Jake Sturgis. He is pushing it right now with the driver of Hugo Louise. And get this, Hugo Louise in P number 11 in today's event. What misery is that for Hugo Louise? And of course, it's actually not been a good day here, really, either for Jake Sturgis. And people so often, Johnny, forget about Jake Sturgis in this series. They think, oh, he's an NASCAR guy. He just happens to run the World Championship Series. No. This is a guy who came home 5th last year. This is a guy who's basically placed P2, P3 in this series before. Yes, he's never won a race, but He is one of the more consistent drivers, and he is always there fighting. This is not a good day when you're in P12 in a race and your name is Jake Sturgis.
Certainly not. Well, Jake Sturgis having a good run so far right at the moment, let's not forget. Up 5 places from where he started, Will. And yeah, he is a NASCAR driver, but he's also a WCS driver. He does double duty, which is more testament to the talent of the man than anything else.
And you know what? I think he will be the one driver, potentially with Tim or Evenman, to do triple duty next year. And of course, for those of you who don't know about it, there will be a 3rd World Championship Series coming next year, which of course focuses on the wonderful world of GT racing. And INX Racing put them right into that melting pot. Put the likes of Kawhi Sport right there into that melting pot. Radicals Online right there. Some of these drivers, well, you know, 1 or 2 of them will definitely do treble duty, and it will be fascinating to see them across all 3 sets of broadcasts next year on iRacing Live. Kroenke versus Hutu is 12.3 seconds. Where did it go wrong here today for Kawhi and Johnny? Because we know that they struggled with pace overall. We thought that Kroenke, after that one, would be their saving grace, but we forget, of course, that these guys, they do their strategy before they go to the grid. I don't think Kroenke in his wildest dreams would have thought he'd be in P2 after corner number 1.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's actually one factor. You're right there, Will. You know, I mean, Kroenke's amazing start, but then it goes to show that De Jong, who also had an amazing start, still in 4th. I think that's still a good position for him as well. Oh, obviously he is better than where he started, certainly. But I think we'll find out after the race. Tune into the post-race show. We'll talk to hopefully a few Coanda drivers there. We'll find out maybe if they did something different during testing to other rounds, or I want to know what was different. I think they do really have to analyze this race, because for such a top team, this can't happen. This can't even happen once. We've seen it once now. If it happens a second time, it can't happen again. It just cannot. So they really need to analyze it. The debrief is going to be one in-depth one, and I really hope it wouldn't be behind closed doors, but of course it will.
Well, let's not forget as well, we're about a year away from the time that Coandison Sports actually started, and that one wasn't really to do with, it was to do with a lot of things. You know, people remember 3ID Motorsports. People will know about what they used to call 3ID Gaming, 3ID Motorsports. They became Coandison Sports. Now, of course, that was a lot of things all rolled into one. And I think team dynamic was one of those things that was discussed. We're just having a look there at P5 versus P6. But we are getting to that 1-year anniversary of Coandison Sports' existence. And they came hot out of the bat and won their first 2 races on the bounce with Martin Kroenke. That is one thing that we're going to have to consider as we head ourselves into the summer. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, following this broadcast, you can see top right hand side of your screen right about now, you'll be able to get yourself prepared. Will be like going into the BBC red button for the RaceSpotTV post-race show from the 9th round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We're closing it out here. We've got ourselves less than 10 laps to go. It's all been about Gregor Hutu, as he now got that gap up to 13.2 seconds over Martin Kroenke. Your top 8 drivers, it's Hutu by 13.1 seconds. Bacala, a good recovery after a very slow start. He fell down into P number 6 at lap number 1. He's back up into 3rd. Mitchell de Jong, a good drive by him. He runs himself in P number 4. Then Jeremy Bootsy, again, a good recovery by him. We're looking at that battle for himself and Tommaso Carla. Now, let's not forget, Bootsy fell outside of the top 10. Carla in 6th, Borgia in 7th, and then rounding out your top 8 is Mogar DJ Philo. Here's the thing, though, and here is the thing, Rachel. I've got to ask the question about Bootley, because he's such a strong driver. If he was to be in the light of a Commander or a Red Line, would he be a race winner? Because he clearly is the lead driver on that Radicals team. And again, I use the term lead driver as in the fastest driver. If he was to be poked by one of the top 2 teams, would he be a race winner?
Yes, I think he would. In fact, I think it's pretty safe to say he would be. He has amazing pace and speed, and not to say anything against the Radicals, they're a great team, but they haven't perhaps got the experience of Coanda and Redline. A slightly younger team, but still an incredibly good team. I mean, they are close 3rd. But yeah, I think he really could do something. If he went to one of the top teams, I think he'd easily be a multiple race winner. Johnny?
Yeah, to be honest, I think if you do it the opposite way, if you say put Hutu, let's say Hutu wins 10 races this year, put him in another team in the same situation this year, in my opinion, put him in a mid-pack team, not naming any names obviously, but I think no more than 5. And as good as a driver as he is, it makes a difference. It doesn't matter how good you are, it doesn't matter if you're the MVP of, if there is even an MVP, but I seriously think that no more than 50% of his race wins if he wasn't in Team Redline.
Well, first of all, we've just seen a little bit of scrapping going on with 2 teammates. Sebastian Job versus Berryman. Now, that was Job moving himself past Berryman. Part of the reason might just be, of course, Job needs to be aggressive. He needs to get himself as many points as possible. It's just behind. You can see Robin Friscops is coming. This is a nice little scrap going on for P15 versus P16. Johnny, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. Here's the thing about Gregor Hutu. He is not only an incredible driver, but he is an incredible team car engineer, mechanic sort of thing. And I want to explain this to the viewers so that people will remember, 3-4 years ago, you had yourself, they called it the ultimate dream team. You had yourselves the likes of Gregor Hutu, you had Atzi Kirchhoff, Luke McLean, Ben Cornett. You had many people in support. The last 2 years, realistically, last year was even worse. Gregor Hutu pretty much had that team by himself. Enzo Benito was supporting him. He moved from GT over to the big time. This year, of course, he's got himself Oli Pacala and Alexei Yakoda, but you look at the way that they perform, I think that Pacala and Yakoda almost work as a 2-person unit within that team. Hutu still does himself by himself. Hutu is still the best driver on the planet by far. I think also that Hutu can do it by himself if he has to. I think you need a support network. We talked about this earlier. The larger teams, the mid-pack teams, they need those support networks. As we look at Philo versus Holtzman, 2 perfect examples. Radicals and Lime, they work together. And I think if you were to put them as individuals, they'd struggle. Same would go for Movano. And even though Holtzman and Carter have their misgivings, shall we say, in the Pro Series, they still need each other.
You're exactly right, and thanks for disagreeing with me, because it makes me think twice about making comments like that, and I actually changed my mind. I agree with you now. So yeah, I seriously think that Gregor has the complete package. At the same time, as I always say, it's a team sport. Everything matters. For example, let's look at Ben Cornett as well. So Ben Cornett, he's not, he's no Gregor Hutu, but at the same time, he makes a big difference if you put him in a team like Team Redline. The little things that he does in that team make a huge difference. So as a team manager, when you're grouping drivers together, you got to make sure that they get along well. You got to make sure that they're fast, they're talented, they all help each other. And I think Pacala said it after the Virginia race, some of them have different strategies, and what that does is, different driving styles. And what that allows that Team Redline is, one driver who might be stronger, let's say Montreal, but weak at Silverstone, and vice versa for another one, they can learn off each other, and it's so important.
Well, here's then a look at P5 versus P6. It is Jeremy Boutaloop versus Tommaso Carla as we ride on board with Tommaso Carla in the Movano Thrustmaster X Team car. There are going to be 4 laps to go in this event. There you can see Gregor Hutu working himself. I love these camera angles. And on the exit now of Chapel, down the back straightaway, the hanger straightaway. Look at the speed he gets up to. Over 300 kilometers an hour, 301 he gets to. He just hits the rev limit at the perfect place as he heads himself down in towards turn number 6. It's Stowe Corner. As you see behind, Carter versus Boutaloop, it carries on. And this one will go all the way to the wire. Boutaloop is now up into P5. That was away from our screens, Rachel. Carter into P6, but this is one that is nowhere near over, and we now have a look from the rear of Boutaloop. Tommaso Carter is closing. Side by side they go in towards Cops Corner.
Yes, they do indeed, and this is getting exciting right now. Of course, Tommaso Carla up for one of the best finishes of his career so far. He really wants his position as he fights so hard, but Boutaloop will secure that for right now. Of course, Andrew Borchka not giving up yet on this one. He wants to come back into the game and look to be the highest, second highest scoring Coanda car there, Will. But Boutaloop, once he got past, he made that run away, and Carla's going to have to fight it out now with Borchka. Because I think Boutaloop's definitely showing that pace. We said he's an amazing driver, and yeah, made that one stick, and he's off.
Well, there are a couple of little battles to finish off. For the record, by the way, Borch is the 3rd highest placed Coanda driver, because of course you've got Mitchell de Jong in P number 4, Martin Kroenke in P number 2, Patrick Holtzman runs himself in P number 9. That is the 2nd Movano Thrustmaster X Team car on the exit then of Luffield through Woodcock. Just 3 laps to go. He battles it out with Mo Garfido. So there's 2 drivers from Radicals Online under attack right now, down through Cox Corner. Look at the car control there for Patrick Holtzman. He's actually going to be right on the rear of Philo as they work themselves. Maggot to the right. Now back to the left again, slowing it down for Beckett. And here they can see a little bit high on the curb there from Garfido under pressure. Here comes Holtzman. He's going to look for the pass as they head themselves down towards the Stowe corner. Philo's going to go round to the inside. It's going to force Holtzman down to the outside, round the outside. Holtzman moves himself past. What a move, Johnny, with 2.5 laps to go.
Oh my good, what a move from Patrick Holtzman. You know what, give him $10,000 for that move, just for that. Was incredible stuff. I don't know whether he threw it into the corner incredibly or whether Filio was just so hesitant on the brakes there, but that was incredible stuff. Confidence there from Patrick Holtzman to the max. So anything about him not being confident, any critics that want to bring that up, just put yourself in the bin, because that was completely and utterly all about confidence for Patrick Holtzman.
It's last and late breakers there for Holtzman. Just works himself perfectly around the outside. It's a simple case of, well, I'm going to take the inside line, that's fine. Stowe corner is so wide, I can put my car wherever I need to. 2 laps to go.
A spinner.
That is Mo Garfido there. Mo Garfido in the number 11 Radicals Online car. Getting ourselves a quick look at that then. That was on the exit of Luffield corner under the acceleration. Let's get ourselves a look at this one then. On board with that Radicals Online car. A look from our aerial coverage actually. This is brought to you by And1 Design. Just a lap and a half to go. Mo Garfido dropping outside the top 10. That's his second uncharacteristic error we've seen from Radicals Online driver here today. And here we're going to see it then. Exit of Luffield. Just trying to get that power down. And it's a slow, horrible spin. You hate these spins. They take so long. Car foot 90 degrees perpendicular to the racetrack. He does sort it out though. The white flag will be out next time by Johnny. They're not going to let this race finish in a nice, calm manner. They want to go right the way to the end. It does mean that Hugo Luis though is back into the top 10.
Yes, good for Hugo, and that's going to give him a little bit of a consolation for a disappointing race for Coando. You know, we say disappointing, they're still 2nd, 4th, 7th, 10th. Strong result, and Andre is in the top 10. We mustn't forget about him. We haven't talked about him much, so a tough cookie. White flag for Hutu. Wonderful, wonderful path to victory.
Well, here he is then, working himself down the hanger straight away for the final time. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, within 5 minutes of this race finishing, we'll take you to the RaceSpotTV post-race show brought to you by And1 Design here from the 9th round of the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series. Click the button, top right-hand side of your screen after this race is completed. But here you can see Gregor Hutu, just a couple of corners now left for him to go. He works himself down into the Abbey chicane for the final time. After Montreal, we thought there was a change in the air. We thought that Coanda might well be back, but I tell you what, they have been utterly outraced today by the number 1 Fanatec Team Redline machine. Here he comes now, just 3 corners left to go, into Brooklands for the final time, into Luffield for the final time. Never ever say that Gregor Hutu is beaten, because he just comes back bigger, he comes back stronger. He wins round number 9 of the World Championship Series, 49th win of his career. Hutu back to victory lane as Kroenke will have to settle for a miserable 2nd place in today's event. There are a couple of outstanding battles to go. As you can see, Kroenke passing line, Boostlip battling it out with Carter and Borcher. They work themselves now. Just a corner to go. There's lap traffic there. And a Ryan race team driver, it will look as though there will be pretty much line astern unless anything crazy happens here. No, it will be 1, 2, 3 there. Boostlip 5th, Carter 6th, Borcher 7th. Good race overall, Johnny.
Oh, and that lap car at the end really made it hair racing. But yeah, as you said, good race overall. Strategy came into play, very unexpected, and it's good to see some drivers getting a very strong result. Others, though, need to work on their consistency, and not just physical consistency with turning the wheel left and right, also with mental consistency. It's so key to being successful in sim racing, and a guy who perfects that is Hutu, and he won the race.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's one of those drivers that had a bit of an issue here today. Sebastian Job, where he had 2 big issues. The first one, he was slow off the line. The second one, he had himself a miserable pit stop. Speeding penalty cost him 15 seconds. You want to know where he finished to the race leader? It was about a minute, but that doesn't matter. He could have done so much more in today's event. We will talk about that in the RaceSpotTV post-race show. But before we do that, as we can hear there, the engines revving as drivers do their celebratory moment, shall we say, on the racetrack. here we can see your race winner. It's Gregor Hutu, once again claiming victory, and here is your final race results. Gregor Hutu, by 13.9 seconds, wins another round of the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series. Round number 9, he wins by 13.9 seconds over Martin Conke. It was Redline Kawanda, your top 4 positions. Picard 3rd, good result there from a tough day for Mitchell de Jong. Jeremy Bootleap fights back from a spin early on in the going to claim P5. Tommaso Carla in 6th, Andre Borcher in 7th, Patrick Holtzman in 8th, Antoine Hegelin in 9th, and then Hugo Louise, what a day for him. P number 10 is all he can manage. We look on back, Sturgis in 11th, Philo in 12th, Alex Simpson 13th, his teammate Sebastian Job 50 seconds behind the race leader. That is not what he would have wanted from a top 3 starting position. Peter Berryman 15th, a good drive by him, 3 Apex Racing UK cars in a row, then 9X Racing cars, Robin Fiscops, 3 Radicals cars, Yunus Nakurian, Paul Ilbrink and Miguel Martin 17 through 19, and then finally Tomo Meglek rounding out your top 20. There's a look at the remainder of your results. Ladies and gentlemen, the RaceSpotTV post-race show brought to you by And1 Design will be after these messages. A RaceSpotTV presentation of the 9th round of the iRacing.com World Championship from Grand Prix Series. For myself, Will Vincent, from Rachel Whiteford, from Johnny Simone, thank you very much for watching the RaceSpotTV post-race show. Next. Cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn 1 for the first time.